Yo, hold up, the streets are buzzing, the courtroom's on fire, and fans across the nation are picking their jaws up off the floor. Because what just dropped is nothing short of jaw-dropping madness. After years of speculation, silence, and shadows, the man believed to be Yo Gotti's secret hitman just broke down in open court. And what he revealed has not only stunned the judge, but cracked open a scandal so explosive the whole rap game might never be the same again. That's right, y'all. After months of high-security lockdown and sealed files, this mystery figure, whose name has been whispered in barbershops, blogs, and back channels, finally stood up, took the mic in court, and said, "I can't hold this in no more." And then he did the unthinkable. He issued a tearful, unexpected apology to the family of young Dolph, and what followed was the reveal of a never-before-seen piece of murder footage that had the courtroom gasping like a Netflix thriller cliffhanger. Y'all ain't ready for what we about to unpack, because this ain't just another rap beef gone too far. This is about loyalty, betrayal, million-dollar secrets, and a power struggle that's been simmering behind the velvet ropes and private jets of the hip-hop elite. Cameras are flashing, fans are crying, and the streets are split. Some saying it's all a setup, others claiming it's the final puzzle piece in one of the darkest mysteries in Memphis rap history. So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the twisted saga of Yo Gotti, Young Dolph, and the alleged hitman who just turned the entire case upside down with one emotional confession and a shocking video that might change everything forever. You won't believe what comes next. Let's get into it. Yo, the whole city froze the moment that man stepped up to the mic in that cold, echoing courtroom. It was like time stopped. The judge leaned in, the cameras zoomed, and everyone in the gallery, media, fans, even the prosecutors, sat breathless. This man, known only through coded text and whispered names in the underground, had been nothing but a shadow for years. He wasn't just Yo Gotti's alleged hitter, he was the ghost behind the biggest tragedy Memphis rap had seen in years. And now, this ghost was speaking. His voice cracked, his hands shook, and the entire room watched as he pulled out a flash drive from his pocket. No one expected what came next. He whispered, "This got everything." But before the video even played, he looked over at young Dolph's family, seated just feet away, dressed in black and pain. And right there, this so-called hitman, tattoos up to his neck, hardened eyes softened for the first time, choked on his words. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said. "I didn't want to do it. I was just the trigger. But I ain't the one who loaded the gun." That came from way higher. Gasps. Real ones. People cried out. Someone dropped their phone. And in that moment, a silence fell so heavy it felt like the walls were listening. Because what he said didn't just point fingers. It opened up a whole new layer of the story. And it wasn't just about Yo Gotti anymore. It hinted at something bigger. Deeper, like a chess game that had been played for years, with Dolph as the piece that was meant to fall no matter what. The prosecutor asked for the video to be played, and security tightened. The court officers stood alert like something dangerous was about to happen. They dimmed the lights, pulled down the screen, and hit play. The footage was grainy, raw, time-stamped just hours before Dolph's fatal shooting. The man in the clip, believed to be the hitman, was parked in a blacked-out SUV near Makita's Cookies. He was alone, talking to someone on the phone. And that call, it was on speaker. The audio wasn't crystal clear, but the voice on the other end had the kind of tone that demands silence. "Wait for the green," the voice said. "You don't move till I say go. This gotta be clean, surgical, no mistakes." The courtroom was glued. People squinted at the screen, trying to make out who that voice belonged to. It wasn't Yo Gotti's voice, that much was clear, but there was something familiar about it. The drawl, the cadence. Fans online would later say it sounded like someone close to CMG, maybe even an artist under the label. One thing was for sure, the hitman wasn't working alone, and what he was following sounded like military precision. The footage continued. The camera angle shifted, possibly from a nearby business's security cam. It showed the hitman getting out, pacing, nervous. He checked his phone. Seconds later, 2 more cars pulled up, one black Charger and one silver Honda. Out came 2 masked men. They didn't speak, just nodded. nodded. Everyone in the courtroom was now piecing it together. The hitman wasn't the only one. This was a team, but then came the twist. The next few frames showed something no one expected. One of the masked men hesitated. He stepped back, pulling at the other's sleeve, like he was trying to stop it. The plan was falling apart before it even started. The hitman's voice from the phone clip returned. "Yo, he flaking. What we doing?" Then came the chilling reply from the voice on the phone. "Clean both if you have to. No witnesses." The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed the gavel. The footage stopped. People were crying. Young Dolph's brother had to be held back. And the hitman, he looked like a man haunted by his own past. He sat down, wiped his face, and said, "That second target, that was my cousin. I ain't know till later." The room couldn't handle it. The emotional weight was too much. This wasn't just a planned hit, it was betrayal on all sides. Family ties cut with bullets and greed. And as reporters rushed to the steps of the courthouse, the story spread like wildfire. Headlines lit up the internet, memes, hashtags, conspiracies. Fans were torn, some calling it fake news, others saying it was the missing puzzle piece they'd been waiting for. And at the center of it all, Gotti silent, CMG tight-lipped, and Dolph's people demanding justice with a fire that hadn't burned this hot in years. Outside, the city felt different. Streets that once bumped to Gotti and Dolph alike now felt divided. Murals of Dolph became sacred ground. People lit candles, dropped tears, and started questioning everything. Was this a simple hit or a carefully orchestrated takedown with layers the public hadn't even scratched yet? But just when the chaos seemed like it couldn't go any further, the hitman leaned back into the mic and said, "And that ain't even the worst part." The moment he said those words, "And that ain't even the worst part," a wave of tension hit the room like a brick wall. Even the judge leaned forward, hands frozen mid-motion. Everyone braced for whatever bomb was about to drop next. The hitman wiped sweat from his brow. His voice got lower, almost like he was scared of being heard outside that courtroom. "They made a deal," he said, "and before it all went down, I wasn't the first choice. There was someone else lined up to do it, but he backed out. He said it didn't feel right," said Dolph was family in more ways than one. "But once he said no, they came to me, offered me double, said if I didn't do it, they'd make sure I never walked again." The gallery gasped. That detail changed everything. This wasn't just about greed, it was about threats, pressure, desperation. This man didn't walk into this life with pride. He was dragged into it with fear. And what made it darker? The one who backed out. The courtroom erupted with questions. Who was it? Why did he say no? And more importantly, where was he now? "He gone," the hitman said. "He vanished 3 days after Dolph died. Last text I got from him said, 'This ain't it. This go deeper than you think. Get out now if you can.'" Then, silence. Reporters scribbled so fast their pens were breaking. The judge called for a recess, but it was too late. The floodgates were open. Social media was melting down. Fans were going back, rewatching interviews, decoding lyrics, linking old footage. Conspiracy threads were popping like fireworks. Some folks started pointing fingers at names that had never even been in the conversation before. People who were in the studio that week. People who used to roll with Dolph, but switched up when the CMG money got long. But let's rewind, cause what happened in that courtroom wasn't just about shocking testimony. The family was in tears. Young Dolph's aunt had to be escorted out after fainting. His mother sat stoic, holding a photo of her son in one hand and a crumpled tissue in the other. Fans were saying it felt like reliving the funeral all over again, but this time with more questions than answers. Back in the courtroom, the hitman said he wasn't just sorry. He was done. He said, "I ain't scared no more. If they gonna get me, let it happen. I owe this to Dolph. I owe this to my cousin. I owe this to the truth." He then pulled out another drive. "This one," he said, "got the studio meeting the night before the hit. Security cam picked up the convo. I ain't supposed to have it, but I got connects. And y'all gonna hear who gave the final green light." You could have heard a pin drop. The judge looked uneasy. Defense attorneys scrambled. Prosecutors looked like they just struck gold. Because this wasn't just a confession anymore. This was turning into a map of a plot that had been planted months, maybe years in advance. The video played. A studio hallway. 4 men talking. Faces blurred, but voices clear. One voice? Definitely the same from the phone call earlier. Another sounded eerily like a well-known producer linked to both camps over the years. What they were saying was even worse. "He moving too independent," one said. "Too loud, too bold. He messing with our streams, our image. He gotta go." "You sure G on board with this?" the other voice asked. "He already gave the nod," the first voice said. "He just don't want to be seen. It's better this way. Let the streets handle it. Clean, quiet, no fingerprints." The video paused. The courtroom was silent again. Not a word, not a breath, because if what they were hearing was true, then the whole story of young Dolph's murder had just been flipped inside out. It wasn't just a beef, it was a corporate-style takedown disguised as street drama. Fans outside the courthouse were wilding out. Clips of the testimony were leaked. Twitter exploded. People were chanting Dolph's name in the streets. Others were outside CMG's office demanding answers. But Yo Gotti, still quiet. Not a post, not a word. His legal team refused interviews. Insiders said he'd gone off the grid, possibly out of the country. Meanwhile, back in Memphis, more people started coming forward. A former studio engineer dropped a DM to a popular blogger. "Y'all don't know half of it. They used to call Dolph the glitch in the system. He was too smart, too focused, and they hated that he never played ball with them." At this point, the case wasn't just about the hitman's confession, it was about the machine behind it. Fans started comparing the whole situation to mafia operations, saying it was less about revenge and more about control, power, silence. And in that silence, Dolph had become a martyr, a symbol of independence, resistance, and betrayal. And yet there was more, because right before court ended that day, the hitman made one final statement. "They think I don't got insurance," he said. "But I do." One of them talked. He wired everything they said after the hit. It's recorded. And that audio, already with my lawyer, already with the feds. You take me out, the truth still gets out. Boom. A mic drop without even standing up. That statement sent shockwaves. Because now, it wasn't just about what had happened, it was about what still could. This case wasn't over. It was just getting started. More names were about to drop, more secrets about to get aired out. And as the court adjourned for the day, fans were already camping out for the next session. They wanted blood, they wanted justice, and they wanted the truth. By the time court resumed the next morning, the entire building was swarming with media vans, fan-made signs, and people from all over Memphis chanting for justice. You could feel the tension in the air like static, heavy and sharp. Folks weren't just showing up to watch anymore, they were witnessing history. And inside the courtroom, it was dead silent as the hitman took his seat again, shackled but steady, his eyes cold now, like the weight of what he'd started finally settled on his shoulders. The prosecution wasted no time. They pulled up the next piece of evidence, an audio clip from a phone wiretap recorded a week after young Dolph's murder. The voice on the tape, deep, calm, and confident. A voice many in the courtroom instantly recognized. No names were said out loud, but the implications louder than gunshots. The voice said, "See? Told you it'd be smooth. Streets already forgettin'. Music movin'. We good. Long as nobody fold." You could hear laughter in the background, more voices. One of them mentioned a private party in Atlanta, how the celebration was quiet money style. And then another dropped a phrase that would send the internet into chaos. "Dolph ain't just die, he got removed." The courtroom stirred like a pot about to boil over. One juror looked like he wanted to stand up and walk out. The judge called for order, but the damage was done. Twitter was already flooded. Fans dissected the word removed like it was code from a spy movie. Some said it proved the hit was industry-backed. Others claimed it was a deeper conspiracy, that Dolph had discovered something about the label's financials, something he wasn't supposed to see. The hitman nodded as the tape played, confirming its authenticity. "That's them," he said. "No, that's the core. I wasn't even in that room. They knew better than to invite me. They paid me, sure, but I wasn't one of them. I was a tool." Then came the tears again, this time not from him, but from a surprise witness called by the defense. A young woman, mid-20s, entered the courtroom wearing all black and oversized sunglasses. Her voice shook. "I was dating one of the guys involved," she said. I ain't know at first, but a week after it happened, he broke down, said they picked Dolph because he was hurting the brand, said it wasn't personal, it was math. Math, that one word stabbed through the crowd, because it stripped away all humanity, all brotherhood, all legacy. It wasn't jealousy, it wasn't hate, it was money, cold, calculated money, she continued. He said Dolph was making moves outside the industry pipeline. Building his own distro, recruiting talent, and worst of all, he wasn't taking their calls no more. They felt threatened. The courtroom turned into a powder keg. Prosecutors were shaking their heads, overwhelmed by the magnitude. Defense attorneys kept looking toward the press bench, like they knew this case was gonna change their lives forever, whether they won or lost. As she stepped down, another piece of the puzzle emerged, this time from an unexpected source, a former security guard at a popular Memphis club. He claimed he was paid off to keep cameras down the night of the planning meeting. They said it was just business, told me not to ask no questions, handed me 5 racks and said tonight never happened. But I saw who went in that room. Big names. Names y'all wouldn't believe. But it didn't stop there. Because right after his testimony, the courtroom lights dimmed for one final video, leaked footage from a hidden camera in a recording studio bathroom. The audio was muffled, but the conversation was clear. Someone inside that bathroom was panicking. You think he gon' talk? Nah, he too scared. Plus we got leverage. And if he don't stay scared, then he end up like Dolph. Boom, another gut punch. Fans watching from the live stream lost their minds. Instagram was lit. Clubhouse rooms ran for hours debating voices. Reddit threads blew up with breakdowns, timelines, and wild theories. Some even claimed the industry had planted disinformation to confuse the case. But inside the courtroom, none of that mattered. What mattered was the ripple effect. Dolph's name was no longer just tied to a murder. He was now a symbol of rebellion. The courtroom had become a stage, and the whole world was watching, and just when you thought it couldn't go deeper, the hitman raised his hand again. One last thing, he said. There's a second list. The judge froze. Everyone did. A what? Asked the prosecutor. A second list, the hitman repeated. Dolph wasn't supposed to be the only one. He was the first. You could feel hearts stop. Who else was on it? Someone asked. I don't know all the names, he replied, but one of them was a major Atlanta rapper. They said he was sniffing around too much, asking about masters, asking about splits. They said he was next if he didn't back down. The entire courtroom was floored. Jaws dropped. Phones vibrated non-stop. Fans started speculating who that second target could be. Names flying from Lil Baby to Key Glock to 21 Savage. Nobody was safe from the rumor mill. Everyone wanted answers, but the hitman wasn't finished. They scrapped the list, he said. Too much heat after Dolph. But if things had stayed quiet, they would have kept going. The judge recessed court for the day, but no one left feeling calm. The city was buzzing with fear, anger, and a thirst for justice that wasn't going to be satisfied easily. People started protecting their favorite artists like they were royalty. Fans demanded statements from labels, from execs, from artists. Most said nothing. Some deleted old tweets. Others posted vague messages like, "Pray for the culture." But deep in the streets of Memphis, something else was happening. Murals of Dolph were being painted overnight. Fans gathered in silence, lighting candles, not just for him, but for the truth. And somewhere out there, the ones who thought they could stay hidden in the shadows, they were starting to sweat. As night fell over Memphis, the energy in the city shifted. It wasn't just about the court case anymore. It was personal. Barbershops buzzed with theories. Radio hosts held late-night call-ins where fans cried, screamed, and remembered Dolph's impact. You could feel the walls of silence cracking across the industry. And back inside that courtroom the next morning, all eyes were on the hitman one last time. He didn't walk in like a monster. He looked like a man who had seen too much, carried too many secrets, and finally decided to stop running. He cleared his throat and leaned into the mic, knowing this might be the last time he ever got to speak to the world. The reason I'm talking, he said, ain't for a lighter sentence. It's 'cause I already made peace with the fact I ain't walking out of prison, but y'all need to know. This thing wasn't just about Dolph. It was about silence. It was about making an example. He reached into a folder and pulled out a notebook. Handwritten, ragged edges, pages full of notes, names, times, meetings. "This my ledger," he said. Every call, every drop, every face, I kept it all. They ain't know I could write like this. They thought I was just a pawn. The courtroom tensed. Prosecutors leaned in. Defense attorneys looked sick. Reporters scrambled to take pictures before the judge stopped them. The hitman flipped through pages slowly, naming studios, cities, labels, even mentioned offshore accounts and burner phones bought in cash. Y'all think the industry just about hits and hooks? He asked. Nah, it's war. Silent wars behind closed doors, and when someone like Dolph came through, independent, loud, smart, they saw that as a threat to the whole structure. He went quiet for a moment, then looked straight at the camera. You got people out here still lying, still smiling, still cashing checks, but they hands dirtier than mine. And if something happened to me after this, no, it wasn't no accident. Outside, fans were already reacting. Shirts were being printed with the phrase, "Removed, not killed." Murals were turning into protest sites. Industry folks started unfollowing each other, posting cryptic messages, and some artists even delayed albums out of fear their names might get pulled into this mess. And then came the unexpected. A sealed witness request was approved, and when the person walked into the courtroom, the crowd audibly gasped. It was someone who used to be close to Gotti, not an artist, not a manager, someone who handled business. The quiet kind, logistics, bookings, behind the scenes muscle. They walked in wearing a hoodie, low key, but you could tell they were scared. The judge gave them a minute to breathe, then they took the stand and dropped another bomb. I was there when the plan was finalized, they said. I didn't know the full details at first, but I heard things. I saw money move. And when Dolph died, I knew what it was. I kept quiet because I was scared. But now, after hearing what's come out, I can't stay silent anymore. They confirmed the meeting in Atlanta, confirmed the list, even named the alias used to refer to Dolph in texts. Code 100. And when asked who signed off on it, they looked down. All I'll say is, it went straight to the top. That was all it took. Chaos erupted outside. Protesters gathered, shouting for indictments. CMG's offices got tagged overnight. And online? It was a firestorm, people demanding boycotts, others defending Gotti, saying there was still no direct proof. Fans turned on each other. Old interviews got rewatched, dissected for double meanings. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Dolph's legacy grew stronger. Young Dolph wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a symbol of rebellion, of independence, of what happens when you stand tall in a world built to control you. Artists who had once stayed silent began posting tributes. Some even admitted they'd been warned to stay away from him. Others said they regretted not speaking out sooner. But the biggest shock came just before the trial recessed for the week. The feds issued subpoenas, not just to the people named in court, but to 3 industry executives with ties to multiple labels, people who'd never been publicly connected to the beef. Insiders started whispering that a major RICO case was building. Some said this was about to be bigger than anything hip-hop had ever seen, bigger than 6699, bigger than BMF. This wasn't just about one artist, it was about an entire system of silence, greed, and control. The hitman was taken back into custody under federal protection. They said he might be relocated. Fans feared for his safety. Others called him a hero. Some called him a liar. But one thing was certain, his testimony changed everything. Gotti remained silent. Not a word, not a tweet, not a post. Even his inner circle began to scatter. Artists canceled appearances, business partners went quiet, and the streets of Memphis, they stayed hot, emotional, and torn. Half the city was in mourning, the other half in shock, and nobody knew what the next chapter would bring. What started as a simple courtroom confession had turned into the unraveling of a kingdom built on image, influence, and unchecked power. And at the center of it all was a rapper who refused to play by the rules. Young Dolph might be gone, but his voice, it was louder than ever. And now we're here. The courtroom may be quiet for now, but the streets, they still talking. Fans are still connecting dots, the city still grieving, and the industry? It's nervous. 'Cause the truth ain't just knocking, it kicked the door down and made itself comfortable. What started as a simple hit turned into a tangled web of power plays, betrayal, and secrets so deep they echo through the entire rap game. Young Dolph's name is more powerful now than ever. He didn't just rap about loyalty, he lived it. And the people who tried to silence him, they're starting to realize the truth can't be buried, no matter how many chains or checks you throw on top of it. Yo Gotti's silence? It's louder than words. And fans are asking questions. Was this the final piece of the puzzle? Or just the beginning of something even darker? What happens next could shake the foundations of the music industry for good, and y'all know we'll be right here to cover it all. So now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think justice is finally on its way, or is there still more that we haven't heard? Hit that like button if you believe Dolph deserves the truth to shine, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single update as this case continues to unfold. We got more footage, more leaks, and more receipts coming your way. This is real rap drama like you've never seen before? Stay locked in. Stay woke. And as always, keep your eyes open and your energy clean. We out for now.